Chapter 1. Dust and Chains. The wind blew dry and hot across the frontier town of Perdition Gulch, lifting spirals of dust like spirits rising from the earth. The sun was high and merciless, baking the crooked buildings and rattling signs hanging over saloons and supply stores. Horses whinnied, boots clomped across wooden sidewalks, and men spat tobacco juice into the dust. Silas Hart rode into town alone, the hooves of his chestnut mare echoing against the storefronts. Tall and broad-shouldered, Silas carried the air of a man who had seen too much. 5 years ago, he buried his wife and baby daughter after cholera swept through the valley. Since then, his ranch had been his only companion, until even it began to feel like a tomb. He came to town for supplies, not salvation. But salvation has a funny way of appearing in the unlikeliest of places. As he passed the sheriff's office and turned toward the general store, a crowd gathered near the auction platform on the edge of Main Street caught his eye. Curiosity tugged him closer. The auctioneer's voice rose above the murmurs of the onlookers, sharp and eager like a buzzard circling prey. "And here we have a real fine piece for those of you needing help on your spread. Apache, young, strong, don't talk much. Let's start the bidding at $10. Silas's eyes landed on the cage. She sat curled inside like a wounded animal, hands bound, hair matted with dust and blood. Her dark eyes scanned the crowd, not with fear, but fury. Pride and pain warred across her face, but she held her chin high. "5," a gruff man barked. "Only $5?" the auctioneer scoffed. "Come now, gentlemen, she's got fight in her, a real savage, make a fine worker." Silas stepped forward, heart pounding. He didn't know what made him do it. $5.50, he said. The crowd laughed. No one topped it. "Sold," the auctioneer declared. "To the rancher with a death wish." Silas approached the cage. "Unlock it," he ordered. "She'll bite," the sheriff muttered. "Girl took a chunk out of my deputy's arm." "I said unlock it." When the door creaked open, the girl lunged, but Silas didn't flinch. He met her eyes. "You're free now," he said quietly. "Name's Silas Hart. I won't hurt you." She stared at him, stunned. Her lip trembled, but she didn't speak. Instead, she collapsed into the dirt. Chapter 2. Silent Fire. The ride back to Hart Ranch was slow. Silas gave her water, and though she refused to speak, she drank. Her wrists bore angry rope burns, and he noticed a stitched wound on her side. Recent, rough, likely from a bullet. She was no slave, he knew. She was a warrior. She hadn't given him her name, so he called her Ember. It suited her. Quiet on the outside, fire beneath the surface. He'd built her a small room in the barn with his own hands, gave her blankets, clothes, and food. For days she said nothing, only watched him like a hawk watches prey. But she never tried to run. At night, he saw her staring at the moon with silent grief etched into her face. Silas never pushed her to speak. He just worked, sunup to sundown, letting her help where she wished. She patched fences, fed horses, mended shirts. She was skilled and strong, even wounded. Then one night, a storm rolled in, lightning splitting the sky. Silas found Ember curled in the corner of the barn, hands over her ears, trembling. He knelt beside her. "What happened to you?" he whispered. She looked up, finally speaking. "White men killed my brothers," she said, her voice low and raw. "Took me, sold me. I fought." "I believe you," he said. She looked stunned. "You do?" Silas nodded. "I've buried more than my share. Don't need to hear more to know hurt." Tears welled in her eyes. But she didn't cry, not then. Chapter 3. Scars and Seeds. Over the next weeks, a strange peace settled between them. Ember began to speak more. She told him her real name, Tula. But he still called her Ember sometimes, and she never corrected him. She had once been a proud warrior of the Tonto Apache, raised in the high deserts, trained to ride, hunt, and defend. "I wasn't meant for cages," she said one day, her voice flat. "No one is," Silas replied. Spring brought life back to the ranch. Wildflowers bloomed across the hills, cattle calved, and birds returned. Silas found himself smiling again, for the first time in years. Sometimes he caught Ember watching him as he worked, her expression unreadable. One morning while tending the vegetable patch, Ember looked up and said, "Why did you buy me?" Silas paused. "I didn't buy you. I rescued you." "Same thing," she said bitterly. He knelt beside her. "Maybe, but I never planned to keep you. You're free to go, Ember. Always have been." She stared at him. "Then why do I stay?" He had no answer. She leaned forward and kissed him, soft, fierce, and fleeting. Then she walked away. Chapter 4. The Burning Past. Trouble arrived a week later in the form of 3 riders, brothers of the man Silas outbid at the auction. They came to the ranch at dusk, rifles slung over shoulders, teeth yellow from chewing tobacco. The eldest, Boone Keller, spit on the porch. "You bought my property, Hart," he growled. "We've come to reclaim her." Silas stepped onto the porch, shotgun in hand. "She's not property. She's under my protection." "You sure about that?" the youngest Keller sneered. "She ain't even white. Ain't legal to keep her without papers." "I got papers for the ranch. I don't need papers to do what's right." Boone's eyes narrowed. "You gonna die for her?" "No," Ember said, stepping out beside Silas. "But you might." She held Silas's spare revolver, steady and loaded. "People said, 'Get off this land,'" Silas growled, "or I'll bury you where you stand." They left, cursing and spitting, but the threat lingered in the air like smoke. Chapter 5. Ashes into Flame. That night, Ember sat by the fire in Silas's cabin. Her hand brushed his, tentative. "I should go," she said. "It's not safe for you." Silas looked at her. "I lost my family once. I won't lose you too." "I'm just a scarred girl," she whispered. "I've killed. I'm not soft or clean." He touched her cheek, rough thumb brushing a healing bruise. "Neither am I. But I know what love looks like, and it looks like you in my kitchen, planting tomatoes, holding my hand when the wind howls." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "You'd give up your name for me?" "I'd give you my name," he said, "if you'll have it." She smiled. Broken, beautiful, whole. Chapter 6. The Reckoning. They married under the open sky, witnessed only by wildflowers and stars. Ember wore a white dress stitched from old linens, her long black hair braided with feathers. Silas wore his best shirt and the same boots he buried his past in. The Kellers returned 3 days later, guns drawn, rage burning. But this time Ember and Silas were ready. The fight was swift. Shots rang out across the valley. Silas took a bullet to the shoulder, Ember to the thigh, but Boone Keller fell, dead in the dirt, and his brothers fled. Silas crawled to Ember, blood pouring down his arm. "Don't die," he whispered. "I won't," she gasped. "Not while you're breathing." They survived. Together. Chapter 7. New Roots. Months passed. The land healed, and so did they. Ember walked without a limp by summer, and Silas regained strength enough to chop wood again, though she scolded him when he overdid it. They'd built a schoolhouse for half-blood children in the valley. They opened their barn to travelers. They danced barefoot in the rain. And some nights, she'd sing old Apache songs by the fire while he listened, with closed eyes and a hand on her belly where their unborn child kicked. Perdition Gulch whispered behind their backs, but it no longer mattered. They had each other. Epilogue, the rancher's name. Years later, folks still spoke of the strange love story, how the lonely widower gave his land, his heart, and his name to an Apache girl he found in a cage. They said the ranch grew greener after she came. They said her laughter healed the place. And they were right. Because Silas Hart didn't rescue a girl that day at auction. He found his redemption, his family, his fire. And Ember Hart was never caged again.